This is Blowing Hot and Cold. It's the world's first live weather video chat. We're here to put the wow into weather. So how will we do that? Well, here's how. If there's any of that strange stuff called science or any off-subject waffling,
we're going to use these yellow cards to bring it back down.
That's right. We're going to yellow card each other and we'll have an official warning for either waffling, off topic, or too much science. And to make things a bit more exciting, our weatherman has agreed to do 10 press-ups on air if his previous forecast was wrong.
Yep, that is right. I have agreed to do 10 press-ups on air, and we'll see when we get to it. But yeah, we want to hear your points of view as well. So let's go.
Okay. With me is Brian Gaze, who's one of the UK's top commercial forecasters who runs the Weather Outlook, and Britain's top weather journalist, Alistair Grant. That's me. So in this episode, we're going to be finding out about plumes, plunges, beasts, and pests.
Well, I don't think we've got any bed bugs or mice in the loft this evening, but what we are going to be doing is discussing the phenomenon which has made Britain's weather pretty crazy this month and through the course of this year.
That's right, but let's not beat around the bush too much, because we know that the main reason we're on here is because we're all desperate to see Brian potentially do these 10 press-ups, which is very, very sportingly agreed to do if his forecast was wrong. So now we have to find out if it was wrong or not. So Brian, 2 weeks ago, what did you tell us, please?
Well, I went back to look at the recording, and what I said was that it was going to warm up in the approach to VE Day, then it was probably going to turn a little bit more changeable, and I think that's really how it played out. So I'm pretty pleased with that.
That's sounding a bit iffy to me, to be honest.
Well, I also went on to say that it would turn colder after the VE Day bank holiday weekend, and it most certainly did turn a lot colder.
You said that as well?
Yes, I did. I had to go back and check it, but I certainly did.
Well, okay, right. Well, it seems like you've got away with press-ups, and it sounds like I should be buying you a drink after getting that one right.
Hell yes.
So you've got away with it this week, Brian, but I know you've very sportingly agreed to have another crack later in the show for the next couple of weeks, which has got a bit of a heat wave on the way, it seems, in the run-up to the late May Whitsun bank holiday weekend. So we'll see how that forecast goes. Now, if you'd like to chat about any subjects that we haven't mentioned that we'll be covering this evening, please just put a message in the chat, any subject you like, and we'll be happy to have a chat about it and address that later in the show. But now we're going to be talking about plumes and plunges.
Have you got some peacocks or plumbers lined up for the show tonight, Alistair?
I haven't got peacocks or plumbers, but it would be good if I did, wouldn't it?
It would be good.
We should try and get some poultry and some handymen on 1 week. No, you'd probably also give me a yellow card, I imagine, for going rather off topic if I introduce any wildlife or builders to the show. So I want to show you something actually on the show tonight, because a phenomenon that has happened in the UK this past week, and it hasn't been seen since as long ago actually as 1994, according to reports. Not my reports, but other reports. And I'm going to put this up now and show you what happened. Can you see that? Okay. Yeah, well, look at that. Wow.
Nice colours on there.
Yeah. So, Brian, let's hear what's going on there.
So on there we can see the UK, and coming up from Spain and across France, there's some very, very warm upper level air, which is shown by the red and orange shadings. And that really brought some very warm conditions to the UK last week.
It did. We got to 25 degrees on Saturday, which was pretty awesome for mid-May, which was the warmest of a long stream of about 6 or 7 warm days. Obviously, great weather for the VE Day bank holiday at home celebrations on Friday. But let's look what happened if I fast forward 24 hours.
So what we can see there is the warm air, the very warm upper level air has been shunted away, and the UK now is under these blues and purples, which are used on this chart to indicate a much colder Arctic air mass that pushed southwards very quickly.
Yeah, that's quite a polar plunge we've got coming down there. It really was a good one. It's interesting because I mean, obviously we live at the side of the Atlantic Ocean, so the vast majority of our weather comes across the Atlantic from the west, and that's due to high altitude jet stream winds about 10,000 meters in the air. It pushes our weather fronts and low pressure systems across the Atlantic, and when we have a southerly or a northerly, we tend to get the westerly come in. But this time it didn't happen. In fact, on Sunday morning, someone walked past my house at 10 o'clock and they were wearing a vest. And then at 3 o'clock, when the polar plunge arrived, people were walking past in coats and woolly hats as well.
That's very nice, but this is a discussion about the weather, not about fashion. So
Yeah.
you're yellow carded. That's your yellow card.
I think you're actually brown carding me, Brian, but on the other side of your...
There we go.
That's more like it.
I've got a whole book of yellow cards here.
Oh, God, I'm never going to escape them, am I?
You're not.
So you don't want any fashion banter or chat about TK Maxx or anything?
No, not on this show.
Right. Okay. Right. Well, we'll try and stick to the weather then. I mean, it was the biggest day-to-day temperature contrast for 26 years in the UK. We went from 25 on Saturday to around 11 Celsius in parts of the south on Sunday, but that 11 felt like about 7 with that wind chill, which really was something.
It was a big change, wasn't it? I experienced it myself, and it really felt like we'd gone back to February or March after that very warm weather the day before.
Yes. Now let's check. Let's check about these masses that we have coming to the UK, because when we get these air masses in, what we tend to get is that we get hot air from the south, or we get cold air from the north. That's the most impactful ones. But there are also other ones which impact the UK, and they bring this, a mixture of weather across to us, often westerly, but sometimes not. And I'm going to share this image with you and show you what goes on. Thanks to our friends at the Met Office for this. And this shows the masses which affect the UK. It's a bit baffling to me.
So we're going to take this opportunity, Alistair, are we, and test your knowledge of these different air masses. You can prove your worth.
Me?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's your turn, and I'm just going to sit back and listen.
I meant to know something about sort of weather and things like that, am I?
Absolutely. No excuses now.
I just like having banter and having a chat. That's my role in this show.
We'll go back to it. We'll go back to it later. But for now, let's have some knowledge.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what I can drag out from the back of my brain. Okay, let's see then. So we've got the first one here. There's one, isn't there? Look, there's a nice one here from the south, which we've had, and that's obviously the one we just had. That's a tropical continental air mass, or as I prefer to call it, a Spanish. Oh dear, that's bad, isn't it? Spanish plume. Yay! Lots of hot air from the south. That comes up, and I mean, how far, Brian? From how far away does that hot air come, would you say?
Well, sometimes from North Africa, but I think last week it was more from Spain, southern France, so 1,000 miles, 1,500 miles.
Right, well, it's quite a distance then, isn't it?
Fair old trek.
Yeah. Down here, we've got some tropical maritime air mass. So that's coming from places like the subtropics, if I can slip that in without getting a yellow card, which is just north or around the Azores, a long way off the coast of Portugal, not quite the tropics. And then there's something on the left here, but that sounds rather complicated for my standards. What's all that about?
Oh, returning polar maritime air. Well, we've not discussed polar maritime air, which is one above it, but it's air which comes down from the returning polar maritime air. It comes down from the Arctic region, so it moves southwards, and then it swings back round areas of low pressure to the northwest of the UK and heads back northwards across the UK. So it starts
Hang on.
very cold.
Sorry. That is getting too convoluted.
Oh my word!
So
I thought
it started off. Well, it started up there and went down. Then it was like the Grand Old Duke of York. It was neither up nor down in the end.
Oh well, I don't know. I'm speechless. Wow.
I've got a much better name for this.
I'm bored.
Let's give that a big cross out, and that should be called, in my view, pest from the west.
It's my least favorite air mass is the tropical maritime one in the winter. But anyway, pest is also pretty boring.
Yeah, and I suppose it can be a pest if it's got some reasonably powerful winds, might have a few wintry elements.
Yes, over high ground, some wintry elements in the winter months.
Yeah, so next one along, we've got over here, polar maritime. That's sort of northwesterly, coming down, wouldn't give us as much snow as if we had some northerly or easterly wind or air masses smashing into the moist air, or rather moist air from the west coming over the UK, hitting the northerly and the easterly. Would it give much snow, this one?
No, I mean, you're going to get snow from this one in the northwest predominantly, in the form of wintry showers. So northwest Britain, perhaps Northern Ireland as well. Those are good locations if you want to see some snow from this. Places like London and the southeast, well, don't expect to see much snow.
Right, okay. But whereas if we get one of these coming down, an Arctic maritime air mass, or as it should of course be called on this graphic, it should be called a polar plunge, which we've got at the moment. In fact, today we've still got a bit of it, haven't we? That can bring us some very cold air. And believe it or not, the cold air we've got has come all the way from the North Pole. It hasn't come from the edge of the Arctic Circle, for example, northern Norway or just north of Iceland. It's come from right up north of Svalbard, right deep in the actually up at the pole. Pretty long way to come. Now, I've saved the best for last. My personal favourite over here, polar continental air mass, or as I prefer to call it, hang on, oh God, this is tougher than it looks. Beast from
back at school, this, isn't it?
The beast from the east. That really packs a punch, doesn't it, Brian? You still love to reminisce about a couple of years ago, don't you, when we were blitzed from the east?
Yeah, the February and March 2018 beast from the east. It was fantastic spell of weather, and I'm old enough to remember ones from the 1980s as well, when they brought loads of snow. But of course, in the summer months, you get nice hot weather from them. So it's a fabulous air mass, in my view.
Yeah, that's I remember, in fact, Brian, March 2018, beast from the east, loads of snow, whiteout, chaos. May 2018, easterly winds from the Ukraine, which is obviously formerly part of Russia. It's certainly in the east, brought us about 26 degrees. You know, once the continent heated up.
Yeah, absolutely. You get your extremes from that type of pattern.
Yes. All right. So how did I do, Brian? Do you reckon?
I'm going to give you an 8 out of 10, which by my standards is pretty generous.
Well, you must have been. You're in a good mood. Have you had a beer before the show or something?
No, not yet.
You'll need one soon if we carry on like this. We've obviously had those air masses, and it's been such contrasts to our weather, which is just having to do in quick succession is very dramatic. Bryce, what do you make of these contrasts that we've had in our weather over the last week or so? We've had the Spanish heat, we've had the polar cold.
Yeah, I think it's been quite interesting how much of a contrast at times. Well, when the cold front was coming down and was right over the country, there was such a huge contrast between the temperatures in Scotland, for example, and the temperatures south of the weather front in in the south of England. And I think yeah, it's quite unusual how much of a contrast there was, because a lot of the time, it's roughly the same temperature, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the South Country.
What do you like, Bryce? Do you like hot or do you like cold?
I'm a bit boring. I like it just kind of average, because the problem is if you get drought condition, well, if you get
Sorry,
the
Bryce, you live in
usual.
the wrong country to get average. We don't tend to have that, do we?
No, we don't.
And that's to be honest, that's moving on to our next subject to discuss, the forecast for the coming days. We were discussing there that we tend often not to have. Well, we can have some average weather, but we quite often don't. But the last few months, to be honest, have just gone bonkers, haven't they, Brian? This year, the weather in
It's been an absolute weather roller coaster, hasn't it? With the washout February, I think the wettest on record. Then April, which didn't turn out to be the hottest, but I think was the sunniest. And then this week we've had the coldest May temperature for 20, however many years you said it was. And now it looks like things are going to be warming up again. So yeah, certainly a roller coaster ride.
Right. So what's next then? If we've had a roller coaster, is it going to be the Big Dipper or is it going to be a loop-the-loop?
Well, what I can do is share my screen and show you a couple of charts, just snapshot charts we'll try and share.
And bear in mind, Brian, that we're going to be marking you on this in 2 weeks' time on May the 28th in our next Blowing Hot and Cold video chat for your potential press-ups. So let's see what you say.
It's always a high risk showing these sort of snapshot charts rather than ensemble charts, but nonetheless, forecast.
Hang on a second. There's a word that sneaked in there, which was Bryce's from last week. It was the orchestral ensemble that managed to somehow get in there.
Okay, so those are models which show you probability rather than an actual definite outcome, a sort of deterministic outcome. But tonight I'll stick with the snapshot ones, which make actual temperature predictions.
Okay, that looks pretty good. There's a big, the sort of thing I'd say, but there's a big orange splodge on that map. Looks promising.
There's a big orange splodge on that map. It's for next Wednesday, so that's the 20th of May in the afternoon. It's from a Canadian model, and I don't know how well you can see it, but it shows temperatures in western parts of England and northern Wales reaching 27 Celsius. That's 81 Fahrenheit in old money. Much of the country is under warm conditions with temperatures into the low to mid 20s. So it's looking pretty good there, I would say, for next week.
Look at those temperatures for Scotland. 25 there in the central belt. People are going to be melting, I'd imagine, north of the border and diving into the sea in an attempt to free themselves from that heat blitz for the Scots.
Yeah, I mean, the sea will still be a bit chilly at this time of year, I would imagine. But yes, I think that's what they'll be doing. So
what about sunbathing? Presumably there'll be a sunbathing rush, won't there, after the slight easing of the lockdown restrictions yesterday?
Yeah, I would think so. And especially as we've got the bank holiday weekend following this. So if I jump forward to the next chart, which I've got here to show, which is for Bank Holiday Monday, the 25th of May.
I think you've made a mistake there, Brian, because Bank Holiday normally means there's a big rain graphic, and I can't see a single one on there.
Well, it's still a long way off, so you may get your wish, but at the moment, it's looking pretty good to me. And one of the things I noticed on this chart, it's an earlier update it's one of today's earlier updates, but it may well be on the money. It shows the warmest conditions in the west and the south rather than in the east, and that's probably because we've got a north or northeasterly wind blowing. And
our friends in Scotland are going to have some good news. It looks like it's going to carry on that warmth for Scotland, Brian.
Yeah, look at those temperatures in northwest Scotland. You know, these raw temperatures from the GFS are often underestimates by a couple of degrees. So if it's got the actual pattern correctly forecast, you could expect maybe even 2 degrees higher than that. So Scotland could see 27.
Right.
Based on this,
they really will be melting.
They will.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that, Brian. Do you know what? You managed to convince me this time by your forecast. So I'm going to back up your pledge on the 10 press-ups, and I'm going to write a story this weekend, I think, about 27-degree heat wave coming to the UK, not only England, but also to Scotland. And before anyone starts, people don't really write on a postcard anymore, do they? They'll probably abuse me on Twitter. If anyone complains, I can use the word heat wave, because if the temperature is more than 5 degrees above the May average, it is actually a heat wave. Never mind the thing about it carrying on for 5 days, but it's okay.
Yeah.
So Brian, we're going to be, I'm backing you up there. What do you think about that?
Very impressed. I think you've made a good choice. As
Yeah,
so trust me.
If it doesn't come off, I'm going to do the 10 press-ups with you on the show next week, which is really, in 2 weeks' time, which is really going to be one not to miss. Both of us being embarrassed, rather than one of us even more amusing.
What you didn't say earlier is it going to be 5 press-ups each or 10 press-ups each?
That is a great idea. Let's ask Bryce. What do you think, Bryce? If we get done and we get this forecast and story wrong and it's not 27, can we just do 5 each on the show, or do we have to do like the full 10 each?
Oh, I'll let you off this time. You can just do the 5 each if you want.
5.
Oh, you've got to do that next time, man.
Yeah.
We're not letting you escape.
You know.
I think we should give. I think we should give maybe Bryce a press-up challenge, which I've got an idea for this one.
Okay.
Bryce, let's think about this. We could have a vote, and you can vote first on something to do with maximum temperatures. So Brian's got on there 27 for England and 25 for Scotland. And now let's say we've pushed it forward a bit. Let's say we're up to May the 28th, the next 2 weeks. And let's say we increase the temperature a bit by, say, 28 degrees, which is going to be a few days after that bank holiday, Monday. Let's have a vote on if the temperature is going to get above 28.0 Celsius or not in the UK by the time of our next show, May the 28th. Bryce, you can go first.
Okay. I'll vote for yes. I think it will actually, yeah.
What temperature are you going for?
Just like 28.4.
That's very precise.
It's very precise. I'll be impressed if that's spot on. But
if that comes off, I want you to buy me a lottery ticket on the next show, okay?
Okay.
Who's going next, Brian?
I'll defer to you.
Okay. Well,
hang on. So this is by the 28th of May, isn't it? We're talking.
By the time of our next show, yeah.
Yeah.
Including the day of the 28th. Well, yeah. I think that Scotland actually often gets some of its hottest weather of the year in the last days of May. So I think when they get a good fern effect going, and now a fern effect, which is the sort of thing that would normally get me a yellow card, it's nothing to do with that New Zealand rugby team or a green fern you might see. It's actually, is it German, Brian?
The word fern. Yeah, it comes from the Alps. I'm not sure if it's German. I presume it is.
Right. So it's spelt. Bryce, how do you spell fern? Let's put some of the people on the spot apart from Brian and me. Brian, you're not allowed. I hope Brian gets it right. Anyway, you go, Bryce.
Oh, Foehn.
Any dots on any letters?
Oh, on the E, like two, like there and there.
Brian, what do you reckon?
Well, I think from recollection, there's 2 ways of spelling it. You can spell it like that, Foehn, but without any dots on it. Or I think you can also spell it Fohn with dots over the O.
Oh yeah. So Bryce has basically got it.
I reckon he's right. I think he's right.
Well done, Bryce. Congratulations. Now, what a fern effect is it's. I'm trying to think of some random props that could help me. So I did actually put some random props here, and believe me, they really are random. That's a melon. Okay. So let's have melon representing. Let's have the melon honeydew watermelon representing the hill. Okay. So Brian, you probably have to help me out halfway through when I get stuck here. So we get some warm air coming on, warm and warm air.
Cool and wet air coming in from the west or southwest.
Okay, but are we? I think so. Okay, it's cool and wet. It comes in, goes over the mountain, rapidly shoots down the other side of the mountain, and descends and warms up rapidly on the other side. How did I do?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, the reason it warms up rapidly is because it goes over the mountain, all the moisture gets squeezed out of it, and it falls as rain. And as it comes back down the other side of the mountain, the air's a lot drier, so it warms up quickly.
I see. Okay, so I reckon we might get a bit of could we get a firn effect in the northwest if we get a southeasterly wind? We couldn't we?
Yeah, I was thinking about that when I was looking at that chart. You usually see it west to east, but yeah, you're right. I mean, you've got the mountains in Scotland there, so
right. I'm going to take Bryce's 28.4 and add 1 degree on. I'm going to go 29.5, 100% to be 28 degrees by May the 28th. Brian, what do you say?
by May the 28th, I'm going to go for 28.2.
Right. Another precise one. You guys.
Yeah.
I'm not that convinced. I've been looking at all the model runs in recent days, and there have been one or two which have been pushing up towards 30. But I'm going to play the probabilities game as usual, as most forecasters do, and so I'm going to just stick a little bit lower there.
Okay, so
it wouldn't surprise me at all, though, if you or Bryce get this right and I get it wrong. It would not surprise me at all. It's a very difficult call.
So in that case, hang on. So this started off, didn't it, with us trying to set Bryce a challenge, didn't we? and it was Bryce, as you and me are still facing press-ups for the hot story. I think Bryce is still going to be the one. So if we're doing it, the original question was if it's over 28, Bryce, you said yes. So if it gets to over 28, you do not have to do press-ups. If it doesn't get to 28, you have to do press-ups. Me and Brian have managed to dodge that one. Wasn't that great?
Okay, fair enough then. To be fair, yeah, you
now,
have press-ups for your forecasts, don't you?
Yeah, so we'll do that. If the hot weather doesn't come off, we're doing press-ups. Yeah. And if it gets below 28, you're doing press-ups.
Okay.
As well. Okay?
Yeah, deal.
Great. Now, Bryce, what other sort of stuff would you like to ask us about? We've just got a couple of minutes left.
So like the El Nino and La Nina, like what's is that like changing phase at the moment?
It's in. Sorry, Brian,
you take that one. It's okay. Well, I know the current situation. We're expecting it to be neutral through the summer.
Yeah, it's going to be like a no Nino summer.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's boring though.
Well, it saves us some extremities of weather. And if anyone's watching this on the YouTube channel and you'd like to know more about El Nino, which has possibly got the coolest name of all weather phrases, please feel free to look up episode 2 of Blowing Hot and Cold Video Chat, which was on April the 30th, which has an El Nino section and some maps towards the end of that chat. So it's looking like not too bad for El Nino. What else would you like to ask us, Bryce?
So if you have a look, I think it was today, or I know the Isles of Sicily in Italy. Sorry, it's not based on the UK, but the Isles of Sicily in Italy, there was a temperature set there, I think in the past week, of over 40 degrees already.
Yeah, I saw it was looking like it might get to 38 to 40 in Sicily, and that was actually due to one of those firn effects, which I was just blundering my way through, discussing with help from a large piece of fruit from my fruit bowl earlier. So, yeah, that's it. I mean, that's pretty hot from that early in the season. However, Spain did get to 36 the other day, but I mean, Brian, over 40 for our friends in Italy, that's pretty hot, isn't it? So early in the year.
Yeah, I mean, for mid-May, it's incredible, isn't it? Did you say it was a record?
We know. I don't think so, but I think it might be for like the time of year, if you know what I mean.
It may well be a record for this early, but it may be, but over the whole of May, I guess that's less likely.
Probably less like, well, yeah, less like. I mean, I was in the south of France last summer, and the temperature reached about 42 Celsius in June, and that was seriously hot. Absolutely, blowtorch heat.
Yeah, that was a bit. That was later in June, though, wasn't it?
Yes, it was quite a lot later. That's why I think reaching. Did you say it reached 42 in Italy this week in Sicily?
Bryce did. Well, I saw it was going to get to 38 to 40. I think Bryce said it might get to over. He saw it had got to over 40. Is that correct, Bryce?
Yeah, I think 40.1 degree exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I would have thought that is exceptional for this early in the season, even in Sicily.
That's got to be heat blowing off somewhere like Egypt or possibly Israel, hasn't it, Brian, to get that sort of heat?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the temperature maps. I'm not showing my screen at the moment, but yeah, you can see it is very hot in southern Italy at the moment, and across the Mediterranean in North Africa there as well. So yeah, it's a very early buildup of heat. Very early.
That's promising for some of those plumes potentially then later at the end of spring or possibly into early summer.
That's right. I mean, we tend to be looking down towards Spain and France, as we said, but nonetheless, there is a lot of heat building up down there at the moment, it seems.
Okay. Well, thanks for your questions there, Bryce. Now, Bryce, I've got a question for you, okay? And it's a question which just is a one-sentence answer, and I'd just like to know what you think of the Blowing Hot and Cold video chat, please. No bad language, because then I can't... I have to delete this show, and we can't put it on our YouTube channel. But tell us in a sentence, please, what you think about the chat and how it might differ from any other weather videos that you might see.
It's awesome because you get to talk to professionals in an informal manner, and you learn so much from just listening and asking you guys questions, stuff like that. So it's a really awesome experience. Sorry,
that's really good to hear. I'm pleased that's what you think. It's great. Very nice summary, Ben.
Have you ever seen any weather forecaster produce a large piece of fruit before, Bryce?
No.
Discussion.
No, I think you've got the best explanations and the melons for mountains.
It sounds like a challenge. I might be going through my fruit bowl in forthcoming editions. Brian, I'm going to lay you down a challenge about your vegetable drawer in your fridge if you're not careful.
That's
I'll show you my vegetable patch next week if you want. This thing's very nicely now. So
great. So yeah, our next video chat is in 2 weeks' time, May the 28th, Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Very easy to remember. You go outside, clap for the NHS and all the carers keeping us safe during coronavirus, and then you come back in and have a cup of coffee and enjoy some Blowing Hot and Cold, a bit of banter. Brian?
Yeah, that's great, and thanks for watching. Remember to send your questions and ideas for discussion via Twitter or Facebook, or you can send them directly to me on the weatheroutlook.com website.
Thank you, Brian. And people can see a video of this show on our YouTube and Facebook and Twitter pages. Please comment, follow, share the love for fruit and weather. And thank you for taking heart in Blowing Hot and Cold. It's the world's first live weather video chat. To finish, we can't do handshakes, so let's do a virtual high five, shall we? Let's go. Boom.
Ooh.
Thank you very much. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.